What's up YouTube, Capital G here, talking Invasion Vengeance in this video. This is essentially going to be the last leak for the set until it comes into the TCG. Invasion Vengeance is the TCG name of Invasion of Venom, so I'm probably not going to be using that name anymore. I think the name change was unnecessary, much like Cross Souls, Crossover Souls, you know, new challengers, next challengers. It was pointless, but Konami is Konami, so, you know, what are we going to do? First card up is Fairy's Blessing, Ritual Spell. It's basically Contract with the Abyss, but for light monsters. If you want to summon a level 8 ritual monster, you essentially have to pay exactly 8 stars from your hand or your side of the field, so you don't get to pay over or anything like that. That's the benefit of being able to summon all light monsters. You have to pay exactly. Then we have Savaris, the Crown Ancient Sage, and this card essentially is summoned with this, possibly. But you could summon it with something like ARA, obviously, too. 2600 attack, 2800 defense, level 7 dragon. I thought this thing could have been a worm because it kind of looks like a Yang Zing. When I looked at it, I wasn't sure if it was going to be a dragon or a worm. I was actually leaning more towards worm, to be honest. Oh, by the way, this card would have crazy synergy with Dragon Rulers if they were legal. Level 7, and it's a dragon? Come on now. When your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a monster or monsters you control, you can discard this card and negate the activation. It's pretty cool to have a quick effect in the hand for a ritual monster. You don't see too many of those outside of Necros, where they've got Gungnir and Trishula and Valkyris and Decisive Armor. But the problem is targeting has just been working its way out of, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh! People don't really target monsters that much outside of like Dark Destroyer, Castel, Magispector, Tornado, because there's too much shit that you can't target, like Magispectors, and you can't target Cosmo ships, and there's even anti-targeting cards too. You know, they're not that useful, but I don't think this card will be super useful unless you're going up against one of those cards, largely. Effect number 2, or just that effect anyways. Effect number 2 is much more useful in my opinion. If your opponent would special summon a monster or monsters, you can return this card on the field to the hand, negate that special summon. If you do banish it, this card can negate a pendulum. Essentially, it's Thunder King Ryo, but you basically bounce instead of tributes. I don't like the idea of bouncing rituals to my hand because rituals are fucking hard to summon. But if it means I'm going to be able to negate an entire pendulum summon, which actually Ryo can't do, and banish the monsters on top of that, like, that shit is totally worth it. I don't think people will summon 5 monsters into this motherfucker, but if they're dumb enough to do it, like, capitalize. That effect is pretty good. Next up, we have Barthos, Fear the True Draco Ruler. Now, people are saying that these are supposed to be like the new versions of the Dragon Rulers. To me, they seem kind of like much more watered down versions, you know, much more tamer versions. It's a level 9 water worm, 1800 attack, 3000 defense. That even kind of smells like a Dragon Ruler, doesn't it? Level 9, 1800, 3000. Like, it smells like a Dragon Ruler. Maybe these are trying to replace the Dragon Rulers. Honestly, they should just make the Dragon Rulers at 1. You know what I mean? Like, don't put them at 2 or 3. Just put them at 1. Like, they'll be fine. You can only use the effect of this guy once per turn. Each effect once per turn. Effect number 1, if this card is in your hand, you can destroy 2 monsters in your hand or face up on your field, including a water monster. If you do special summon this card, and if you destroy 2 water monsters this way, you can banish up to 2 spell or traps your opponent controls or has in their graveyard. Attacking their graveyard is really powerful, getting rid of things like Prime, getting rid of things like Pantheism, really powerful. Obviously, getting a Twin Twister that banishes is really powerful too. Effect number 2, if this card is destroyed by card effect, you can special summon 1 non-water worm monster from your deck in defense position. Okay, that's pretty decent. So it can't summon itself, but it can get another worm. The reason these are not as powerful as the Dragon Rulers are obviously the fact that you cannot summon them from the graveyard, which is why the Dragon Rulers are fucking ridiculous. Activate their hand effect in 1 turn and then summon the motherfuckers back from the graveyard the next turn. Like, and I don't know, the summoning conditions just aren't nearly as easy as Dragon Rulers. Like, these are, to me, it seems like watered down Dragon Rulers, if that's what they're going for, because I know in Dark Illusion there's a fire one, but if that's what they're going for, they are, in my opinion, watered down Dragon Rulers, and I don't think they'll be nearly as good. Next up, we have Genesis Tellarknight, which, at least to me, again, confirms Dual Terminal 3 is still going on, and it shows the new Tellarknight XC being made with, you've got Construct there, Ptolemaeus there, and Scout there, and you've got Construct with all her little strings, or little shadow strings, how she, put all the monsters, the shadows on her strings and whatnot. This card is actually pretty good. Could be the new Twin Twister for Tellarknights. It's a quick play. It says destroy a number of spell and trap cards on the field equal to the number of Tellarknight cards you control. So this card in a lot of situations in Tellarknights could be just an MST, but it also has the potential to be a Twin Twister or more. It could even be a Feather Duster. If you, like right before you go into Trevor, you have your 3 Tellarknights on the field. If your opponent doesn't have an answer, it could easily be a Feather Duster in that situation, or more likely you could just go like Vega into Deneb and then bam, activate this. It's a Twin Twister. And you can also go like Altair into Deneb, which is the easiest play in Tellarknights, and then it's a Twin Twister in that situation too. So that's pretty good. I mean, I would honestly just replace Twin Twister with this because it doesn't have a discard card, discard cost, and it just seems pretty practical in the deck. Like this card I think is definitely good in Tellarknights. I'm going to skip the Metaphos card because I'm going to talk about those in video number 2. We've got Gradle Combat, Counter Trap. It says when a monster, effect, spell, or trap is activated that targets exactly one Gradle monster you control, activate one of the following effects, negate the activation, and if you do destroy it, that's Infernity Barrier. Effect number 2, the effect becomes destroy that target. The problem with this card is, once again, targeting has been taken out of the game for the most part. People don't play Book of Moon. They don't play evac. They don't play, things like Compulse Evacuation Device. Maybe you get lucky on an Effect Veiler or a Dart Destroyer, but so much targeting has just been taken out of the game. There's no more Sakuretsu armors. Those days of Yu-Gi-Oh are over. So I don't really see people like I wouldn't even run this. I mean, yeah, it can potentially trigger some of your Gradles, but it's like not worth it in my opinion. We have Fairy Tale Talia, level 4, light spellcaster, flip monster. That's pretty good stats for a level 4 flip. That's like Dragon or Squamata. 1850, 1000 attack and defense. You can only use the 2 effect once per turn. Effect number 1, it's a flip effect. Special summon 1 monster from your hand. It's not bad. I mean, I guess it can get things out of your hand like D-Mock and Christian, like really big monsters, or maybe Dart Magician, something like that. Effect number 2, if your opponent activates a normal spell or trap, you contribute one other monster you control. The effect of that card becomes change one face-up monster to, your opponent controls to face-down defense position. So your monster, if you activate this card, will go into face-down defense position. I mean, that's not bad for being able to negate a spell or trap. Problem is, I don't think this card is nearly as good as the other Fairy Tale monster, the one that you can summon during the battle phase and put shit face down. That's a targeting effect worth running because it's hard to dodge in the battle phase and at any point. Although you have to banish like 5 cards in your graveyard, so it's not that practical. And tag duels, it's amazing. This card is it's way more niche than the other one in my opinion. We're going to skip over the Metaphos, and I think we'll end with this card right here, the new Yang Zing, which is, it's Ding Long, Origin of the Yang Zings. This card, I'm not going to lie, guys, like I hope I'm not overselling. This card is like borderline fucking broken. It is a light, it's a worm because it's a Yang Zing. It's a Synchro, but it's also a tuner. It's generic. It has no attack, but it has 2,800 defense. The reason I didn't talk about this card was because we didn't know like all the effects. Some of them, it was shrouded in mystery. We didn't know what the defense was. I was like, I'm not going to talk about a card until we actually know what the fuck it does. Effect number 1. If this card is special summoned, you can add 1 Yang Zing card from your deck to your hand. So this is just stupid. Not only does it search the Infernity Barrier, but it searches every monster in the entire archetype. So basically it's like Infernity Archfiend. So it searches everything. And what's stupid about it is it does not even have to be synchro summoned. Literally you can just use Oasis of the Dragon Souls and just get it back and get an Infernity Barrier. Like, how is that balanced? Effect number 2, once per turn you can send a worm monster from your deck to the graveyard. This card's level becomes the same as the monster sent to the graveyard. That's cool too, because that just gets Chi-Win from your deck straight into the graveyard. So if this dies by battle or something, which it's probably not, 2,800 defense, you just get your Chi-Win for free. Like, that's really good. And then the third effect is just absurd. If this face-up card leaves the field, you can special summon 1 Yang Zing monster from your deck. You can only summon 1 Ding Long once per turn. So, okay, to me it seems like you should be able to use all three of these effects in one turn. Summon this card, get your free Infernity Barrier, get whatever the fuck you need. Then you can just send a Chiwin to the graveyard for free. That's basically a +1 waiting to happen. And then third, you can just, since you have a tuner, you can sync with this card and then get any Yang Zing. So it basically pays for itself when it leaves the field. This card is like fucking broken. I think that Baxi is probably still a little better. Now, I think technically, like, just based on the effect, I think this card is probably the best Yang Zing. Like, I think it's actually better than Baxia. Like, this card is literally, I think, not balanced. And Baxia is like kind of balanced, but this card's like, honestly, I don't think it's balanced at all. Like, this card's just fucking broken. If Yang Zings are gonna come back, it'll be because of this card and Baxia. Like, those two cards. So, let me know what you guys think. Also, what's it called? Rosemary, we now know her stat line, which is 2,000 attack. 900 defense. I think this card is fucking stupid. I think that the new Tellarknight card is very similar to Twin Twister. I think it's pretty good. And I don't know. I think those are some of the two best cards in the set. Like, they're really pushing Tellarknights and Yang Zing. So let me know what you guys think. I'll talk about the Metaphos in another video. Thank you guys for watching as always.